Positivity is key in the classroom. Focusing on a positive classroom environment is necessary to deliver content, but the content needs to be information intensive to truly enhance vocabulary and all forms of literacy. It is necessary to define and contemplate how one may implement an information-intensive environment within their own class, so one need look no further than the discussion at hand to ponder such. An information-intensive classroom or an information-intensive environment in education is just that, a learning environment with verifiable data in the form of informational and literary texts, accessible data for research with consideration to the 4 V's, where learning is adaptable and accessible, developmentally and appropriately, according to learning needs. From the study of an article that discusses an informatics approach to health, as health professionals in educational and medical settings have similar, if not the same, needs as teachers, students, and researchers, it becomes obvious that one may utilize strategies derived from professionals at the precipice of knowledge. Optimizing digital information was the focus of the study, and an explanation of information-intensive environment ensued. But before truly examining such, an interesting aspect should be taken into consideration and must be discussed by educators in this digital age while applying the lens of developmentally appropriate text to digital representations of such. Data specific to education, if one may consider it as such, must be filtered according to need. One interesting way to do such is through the utilization of the aforementioned 4 V's. The researchers of the article currently in question noticed the following about data in this current digital world, stating that data are huge in volume, they are generated at high velocity, they originate from a wide variety of sources, and their veracity is not always assured. That's grade 2016, 4 V's. Since veracity isn't assured, we must ensure we are taking the necessary steps to verify online sources through the filters of synthesis and based upon evidence. It is important to check the reliability of print text by making sure they are developmentally appropriate in order to enhance the reader's vocabulary, and they should be optimized relevant to all areas of literacy, including but not limited to phonemic awareness, writing, etc., especially if retrieved online. Furthermore, I feel that with this strong correlation in knowledge, one may pull strategies from some of the aforementioned medically inclined, smartest students in our educational arena that in another study had the assistance of librarians to teach them how to utilize informatics. Although the application applies clinically, the knowledge asserted is highly relevant. The researchers asserted that undergraduate nursing students have the opportunity to develop information literacy skills while at university so they can work effectively in an increasingly information-intensive clinical environment. This can be achieved through learning how to effectively search for required information, critically evaluate it, apply, and reference it. Purnell, Royal, and Wharton, 2020. Therefore, an information-intensive environment that has been adopted for a classroom setting should be understood by the students within said classroom. They should be able to easily access the data or text, verify its authenticity, understand whether they need an informational text or literary text, reason as to why, and have it in many forms, including digital and print, for reading, writing, and listening options. It is important to take the necessary precautions when discussing information-intensive environments in classrooms with data or hybridized text that are domain-specific, digitally and physically available in the form of literary and informational text, and that are available to us as educators and students. As continuing learners and educators, we have a plethora of information we must analyze, but students in classrooms must also understand veracity at their respective levels, as this information-intensive environment is only as useful as its subject's ability to understand their worth and feel confident with the utilization thereof. Not only does it need to be developmentally appropriate, but they must also know at their respective levels the 4 V's. Students must understand how to access material according to genre, author, reading level, etc. As a quick aside, from this point forth, I feel it better to slightly differentiate the term literacy-rich from information-intensive, as the latter entails a broader scope of data specific to educational, medical, and economic realms, including marketing concepts related to such. It will be easier to stay in the educational conversation with literacy-rich used in preference to, but still in the realm of information-intensive. In order for educators to create and take full advantage of literacy-rich that allows students to thrive academically, ensuring there is a positive classroom climate is a top priority, and enhancement of vocabulary, these are non-negotiable necessities. One must create a safe space for learning and empower students to feel responsible for their own learning. Diverse seating and spaces for small group learning are requirements to ensure literacy-rich environments, as well as positive classroom culture and climate, can all coexist. While these simple adjustments can reap numerous benefits, the areas where said seating find their locations should coincide with materials, classroom libraries that are viewable and organized, spaces where class meetings can take place, and places where the students feel comfortable reading the print and digital text that are made readily available to them. In a paper that goes into extensive detail about the subject of developmentally appropriate text and introduces a continuum of such, the writers explain developmentally appropriate text in the following context. And I quote, IRA and NAEYC believe that goals and expectations for young children's achievement in reading and writing should be developmentally appropriate. That is, challenging but achievable with sufficient adult support. A continuum of reading and writing development is generally accepted and useful for teachers in understanding the goals of literacy instruction and in assessing children's progress toward these goals. Neuman, Copple, Bredekamp, 2000. With this continuum, one can ensure they utilize reading levels that correlate to each child's level of development across grades and within them for students reading at, below, or above grade level. Once assessed using running records or BAS testing, the teacher can use level books from the class that is organized according to lexile, genre, author, etc., and confer with students to ensure they continue to master new levels. The teacher can then assign various texts according to the student's level on RAS-Kids, with listening, writing, exercises like summarizing, and speaking to ensure one possesses a literacy-rich classroom. The best way to enhance vocabulary through information-intensive and literacy-rich environments is by ensuring exposure to print and digital text in a positive classroom climate, but by also ensuring that in both settings there are plenty of interactive strategies to fortify the learning thereof, with dialogue, listening, and speaking being especially vital according to evidence-based practices. According to the review on current research on vocabulary instruction, in a multi-focused experimental study, Coyne, McCoach, and Camp extended word learning beyond the storybook reading session for kindergarten students. Children were divided into 3 groups, each receiving a different instructional approach to learning new words. One group was given the opportunity to learn the targeted words through interactive experiences that extended beyond just listening to the oral reading of the text. The investigators found that vocabulary instruction should include teacher-student dialogue and interactive activities that target new words. The data indicated word learning through incidental exposure of the words, reading the story without direct instruction, and only partial knowledge of the targeted vocabulary when word definitions were embedded during the story reading. Extending word knowledge through dialogue and interactive experiences produced a statistically significant difference, and based on assessment data, children maintained word knowledge for 6 to 8 weeks. That's the National Reading Technical Assistance Center, 2010. Basically, interactive activities like one could assign on RAS or create through Seesaw can significantly enhance vocabulary learning. Utilizing RAS-Kids is an exceptional way to ensure interactive experiences in digital texts. If one desired to formatively assess and solidify the teaching of vocabulary taught using specific print text, through interactive physical activities and dialogue, a Kagan graffiti wall would be a great strategy with ensuing conversational dialogue to solidify the understanding and enhancement of said vocabulary. These would be implementations to make in any classroom, which, according to the previously mentioned quotes and points, are of the utmost importance as they are evidence-based strategy for teaching vocabulary and implementing literacy-rich environments, which will help to ensure the classroom climate is one that continually resonates with positivity.